There's a man in every room. You don't notice him at first. He's not the loudest. He's not the most dressed up. He's not performing. He's just watching. And somehow, everyone in that room feels him. I'm going to tell you exactly who that man is, and more importantly, why you're not him yet. I was at a dinner once. 8 people around the table. Loud conversation. Everyone talking over each other. One guy telling stories, laughing too hard at his own jokes. Another guy checking his phone every 30 seconds, then looking up to make sure someone noticed. And then there was Marcus. Marcus didn't say much. He was eating, listening, occasionally nodding. But here's the strange thing. Every single person at that table directed their next sentence toward him, like they were talking to everyone, but they wanted his approval. He didn't earn that by being the smartest in the room, or the richest, or the most experienced. He earned it by doing the one thing nobody else was doing, absolutely nothing. We were taught something backwards since we were kids. The teacher who yelled got attention. The kid who performed got the laugh. The parent who raised their voice got obedience. So we learned loud equals powerful. And then social media came along and turned that dial to 100. Now everybody's screaming. Everybody's performing. Everybody's trying to be the most interesting person in the digital room. And for a while, it works. Follower counts go up. Views go up. People react. But there's a difference between reaction and respect. Reaction is what you get when you're loud. Respect is what you get when people realize you don't need to be. Here's what I've noticed, and this took me years to actually understand. The quiet man isn't quiet because he has nothing to say. He's quiet because he's choosing what to say. That distinction matters more than anything I'm going to tell you today. When you're reactive, when you respond to everything, defend everything, comment on everything, you're telling the world, I need you to see me. But when you pause, when you observe first, when your words come out slow and deliberate because you meant them, you're telling the world something completely different. I don't need your permission to exist. And people feel that. They don't know why, but they feel it. It's the same reason you sense a storm before the rain. Something in the air changes. That's the quiet man. He changes the air without opening his mouth. Marcus wasn't always like that. 3 years ago, he was exhausting to be around. Not because he was a bad person, but because he needed you to know he was a good one. Every conversation he had a story. Every story he was the hero. Every silence he filled it before you even noticed it was there. He thought that's what confidence looked like. He was wrong. Confidence doesn't fill the silence. Confidence creates it. I remember one night we were at a bar. He was going on about something, and I watched the table. People were politely nodding, but their eyes were somewhere else. After, I told him something. I said, Marcus, you're not talking to people, you're talking at them, and there's a wall between those two things. He looked at me for a second, then he looked down. That was the first quiet moment I ever saw from him, and somehow in that silence, I trusted him more than I ever did when he was talking. The thing about quiet power is, it's not a technique. You can't fake it because it's not about shutting up. It's about having somewhere inside yourself to go. When the room gets loud, the reactive man gets louder. The insecure man gets defensive. The quiet man, he goes somewhere else, somewhere internal. A place where he's thought about this before, where he's already decided what he believes. That's what people sense, not the silence, the solidity behind it. Marcus started reading more, not to show people he read, to actually fill that internal room with furniture, with ideas, with frameworks, with opinions that were his and nobody else's. He stopped arguing on the internet, not because he gave up,
but because he realized if you have to convince everyone you're right, you're not sure you are. The man who's truly sure of himself doesn't need a debate, he just lives it, and eventually people notice. There's a concept in Japanese culture called ma. It doesn't translate perfectly into English, but roughly it means the power of empty space, the silence between the notes in music, the pause before a master answers. They understood something we forgot. Emptiness isn't absence, it's potential. The man who never shuts up has no ma, no space, no mystery. You know everything about him before he sits down. But the quiet man, he's full of ma. Every time he speaks, it means something, because you know he doesn't speak unless it does. This is why the lion doesn't announce itself, not because it's being strategic, not because it read a book on charisma, because it simply doesn't need to. The room already knows. I want to be honest with you for a second. I'm not telling you to become cold or distant or to stop talking because you think it makes you look cool. That's not quiet power. That's insecurity with a strategy. And people see through it immediately. The difference between the two is felt, not seen. The genuinely quiet man is warm. He listens like your words actually matter. When he speaks, there's no performance behind it, no angle, just what he actually thinks. Marcus got this wrong at first, by the way. After that conversation I had with him, he went too far the other direction, became almost silent, thought silence itself was the answer, and the table felt that too, not power, tension, because quiet without depth is just absence. What you're filling the silence with is what determines whether people lean toward you or away. Fill it with something real, or don't say anything at all. There's going to be a moment today, maybe at lunch, maybe in a meeting, maybe just in a group message, where you feel the urge to perform, to react, to prove. Notice that urge. Don't fight it. Just notice it. Because the man you want to become doesn't react from that place. He pauses. He decides. And when he speaks, the room already knew something was coming. The most dangerous man in the room doesn't need to prove he is. You'll feel him before he says a word.